buenos días y bienvenidos a todos. Good morning and welcome everyone. Welcome to a community dedicated to providing spiritual tools for living a happy and full life. My name is Karina Shearer and I am the spiritual director and founding minister here at the Center for Spiritual Living, Puerto Vallarta. If you would like to join us for the live Zoom meeting, please contact me for the link and the password, or check on our website, www.cslpv.org, on the weekly talk section. Today is Sunday, October 1st, 2023. We are continuing our annual theme, which is Living Out Loud. And this month, our topic is Playing with Paradox. Today's topic is the paradox mindset. One of the suggested books for reading this month is Navigating Polarities by Brian Emerson and Kelly Lewis. So at this time, I'd like to truly welcome everyone, including those that are new to our teaching and to our center here in Puerto Vallarta. Whether you're here live on the Zoom call or watching the replay at a later time, we teach a philosophy that honors all faith traditions. So whatever path you are on, know that it is the right one for you. So as I mentioned, we teach a philosophy called the science of mind, and it's a teaching based on new thought and ancient wisdom. We offer spiritual tools and principles to promote personal growth, and we honor diversity in all aspects so that we can see and appreciate the great oneness that already exists everywhere and within everyone. When Dr. Ernest Holmes was asked to provide a concise definition of the science of mind teaching, he had replied that it is a correlation of laws of science, opinions of philosophy, and revelations of religion applied to human needs and aspirations. Each week, we offer a service with an inspirational message, and we are now meeting live on Sundays at noon. So hang out with us after the service for some great conversation with like-minded people. And if you would like to have a one-on-one connection for a spiritual mind treatment to assist you with whatever you are experiencing in life or would like to experience more of, then please connect with me. And if you would like to commit to being a member of the Center for Spiritual Living Puerto Vallarta for this year or the upcoming year, or if you would like to be on our board of trustees, please contact us so that you can be sent the current application form. I'd also like to remind you to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel and Facebook page. And if you're interested in learning more about the science of mind teaching, we will be offering new courses starting this month. We will also have a few interesting workshops offered later this year. So connect with me or check our website for details. And again, let me know if there is a specific course, workshop, or even a book study that you would be interested in taking, so we can plan those as well. And as we do each week, let's together review our purpose, vision, and mission statement. We have a grand purpose here each week, and that is to awaken and celebrate diversity and to love and serve our community. We do this by means of our vision, creating the life you desire. And this is supported by our mission to provide spiritual tools for personal growth and transformation. So Jim Collins in Beyond Entrepreneurship wrote, "Builders of greatness are comfortable with paradox. They don't oppress themselves with the tyranny of the or, which pushes people to believe that things must be A or B, but not both. Instead, they liberate themselves with the genius of the and. So this month, we are expanding our ability to live out loud in every area of life through a playful exploration of paradox. Paradoxes are a natural part of life. The more that we can embrace this truth, the more we can find solutions to the major problems we're facing in our individual lives, in our communities, and in the world. We'll explore what it means to use Januism thinking and develop a paradox mindset, how to use our curiosity and vulnerability to get comfortable outside of our comfort zone, and find that the opposite of an absolute truth is not a falsehood, but rather another absolute truth. And once we have deepened our own ability to play in paradox, we will apply this thinking to the paradoxes that inform and direct our lives in the world. And we'll learn that leaning into using paradox can bring relevance to the idea of creating a world that works for everyone as we play with paradox out loud. So we begin our playful exploration of paradoxes with some key definitions and ideas. What is a paradox? And how do we develop a paradox mindset? What is Januism thinking? And how can it support us in deepening our spirituality and growing in science of mind? As we dive into this subject, we'll find that every answer leads to more questions, and that there really is no one right way to look at everything. Instead, we must open ourselves up to hold many ideas and perspectives at once and truly embrace the paradox mindset that lives within us all. Ernest Holmes wrote this: "The riddle of the universe is a paradox. The question is its own answer. For the mind that asks the question is also the mind that answers it." So in the science of mind, Ernest Holmes reminds us to remain open at the top. And one of the ways in which we can do this is through embracing and developing a paradox mindset. Paradox thinking is a natural part of the science of mind teaching. We believe in oneness, even while there is suffering and struggle in the world. And we believe that the infinite and the finite are one and the same, and that our mind is an individualized expression of the one mind. All of these beliefs require a paradoxical mindset, the ability to hold two seemingly contradictory ideas at the same time. A paradox mindset is the key as we deepen our spiritual understanding of the world. Ernest Holmes wrote this: "What we must avoid, however, is the confusion which arises from a belief in final revelations, from the belief that all truth is at last discovered, or that some one person or some one system of thought has delivered the last word. There are no finalities in any science, any philosophies, or any religion." So let's start first with what is a paradox. The word paradox comes from the Greek para, which means contrary to, and doxa, which means opinion. The Latin term paradoxum means seemingly absurd, but really true. In Atlas of the Heart, Brene Brown defines paradox as this: the appearance of contradiction between two related components. So it involves the deliberate use of counterintuitive statements to challenge and change an individual's perspective or behavior. The idea behind it is to create a cognitive dissidence, forcing the individual to reevaluate their beliefs or actions, ultimately leading to personal growth or a shift in behavior. We find paradoxes everywhere in the world. Light and dark are seeming opposites, yet one cannot exist without the other. You have to spend money to make money. And if you don't risk anything, you risk everything. Less is more. God is consciousness and matter simultaneously, and even jumbo shrimp. I'm sure you've seen the meme on Facebook about the mother putting the child to bed and warns not to catch them reading. And the child snickers because the child takes it as a challenge and actually reads. The mother snickers because she knows the child would complain if they were told to read. The human mind is designed for either or thinking. And this evolutionary design was incredibly useful for our ancestors. It was important to be able to quickly tell if movement out of the corner of their eye was the wind blowing the leaves or a wild animal about to pounce. Now, however, both and thinking is necessary to solve the challenges that we face in our society and our world. So we must shift from thinking in black and white, linear and binary terms like right and wrong, and open ourselves up to a paradox mindset. So in the 1970s, Southwestern Airline was founded with a revolutionary idea. Rather than having assigned seating with class fare structures, it was designed as a first come, first serve. Those who were in the line first got to choose their seat first. Founder Herb Keller developed this egalitarian operating philosophy and chose to continue to put his values and passions first, even when controversial wisdom suggested he could make more money by utilizing the current widely accepted model. Keller was known to say, conventional wisdom put a hell of a lot of airlines out of business. Until Southwest came along, it was common thinking that boarding according to where your seat was located was the fastest available process. However, numerous studies show that open seating saved up to 4 minutes off the boarding process, lowering costs and making it more effective and accessible for everyone to travel. It took until 2007 for the airline to perfect the boarding process that we see as today, when the people who check in the earliest get the earliest boarding spots. Keller's system is a great example of living from the paradox mindset. He believed that equality and putting his values first would benefit not only himself, but his entire airline and everyone who chose to fly with them. He used Januism thinking to solve a problem. What is the fastest way to board a plane to allow more on-time departures? By allowing everyone to choose their own seat, he discovered that utilizing this egalitarian process actually increased boarding speed while supporting everyone's ability to fly affordably. Choosing to stay in the paradox of What is good for the masses will be good for the few, benefited Kaler. And Southwest continues to be one of the most popular and most profitable airlines in the world. Ernest Holmes wrote this: "We need to develop a good-natured flexibility. Nature demands this, for if the tree did not bend before the wind, it would break. We are apt to hold our thoughts so static that it finally becomes a habit, which destroys not only our mental happiness, but also the spiritual influx." So, what is a paradox mindset? The paradox mindset is the ability to hold and consider two seemingly opposed ideas at the same time. For example, I love sitting facing to the west at the beach, watching the ocean waves coming in and receding again. But I also love the view of the majestic mountains to the east. To face one, I have my back to the other. If I shift my body to the north or south, I can then enjoy both at the same time. While we tend to believe that being pulled in opposite directions will cause stress, studies have shown that when we can embrace the tension and step into paradoxical thinking, people are more creative, flexible, and productive. And these conflicts can often work in our favor. The dual constraints actually enhance our performance. Living our science mind teaching requires a paradoxical mindset. And as we are consistently pulled in two seemingly opposite directions of seeing all as oneness, while also being confronted with the suffering and brokenness of the world, a paradox mindset allows us the freedom to simultaneously hold both of these ideas in our minds without a need to solve any problem. In fact, by embracing the paradox, we realize that there is no problem to solve at all. Although this concept may sound counterintuitive, it's inspired by a long history of research showing that contemplation of apparent contradictions can break down our assumptions, offering us wholly new ways of looking at a problem. Harvard University psychiatrist Albert Rothenberg was among the first to investigate the idea formally with a study in 1996 of acclaimed geniuses. Interviewing 22 Nobel laureates and analyzing historical accounts of deceased world-changing scientists, he noted that each revolutionary thinker had spent a considerable amount of time actively conceiving multiple opposites or antitheses simultaneously. Einstein, for instance, contemplated how an object could be both at rest and moving, depending on the position of the observer, a consideration that ultimately led to his relativity theory. And Danish physicist Niels Bohr Niels Bohr had tried to reconcile the ways that energy acted like both waves and particles, states that existed simultaneously, even though they were not observed together. So this train of thought ultimately inspired a startling new understanding of quantum mechanics. And most of us don't have Einstein's or Niels' genius, of course, but studies have shown that paradoxical cognition can also help more average thinkers to solve everyday problems and organizations to enhance their performance. In one of the studies, Ella Myron Spector, an associate professor of organized behavior, and her research collaborators asked participants to write down 3 paradoxical statements. The participants were told that these could be as banal as the idea that sitting can be more tiring than walking. And they simply had to list any thoughts that were seemingly contradictory, but nonetheless possibly true. She gave them 2 of psychology's standard tests of creativity. And Myron Spector found that the participants who had been asked to consider the paradoxical statements tended to perform much better on both tasks compared to the controlled group, who had simply noted down 3 interesting statements. 35% of the paradoxical thinkers found the correct solution to the test problem, for example, compared to just 21% of the control group, a large difference after such a simple prime. Although the participants' paradoxical statements were not directly related to the task itself, their contemplation of the contradictory ideas seemed to have freed their thinking from its usual constraints, meaning that they were better able to think outside the box. So how can we capitalize on this knowledge? Well, one step would be to simply note down any paradoxes that you encounter, and then to make a point of contemplating them before you set about solving problems. If you're stuck for ideas, you could look further into the paradoxes that inspired scientists like Einstein and Bohr. And Greek philosophy is also full of paradoxical ideas that might get your creative juices flowing. So your own job may already contain many contradictory goals that could inspire paradoxical cognition. In the past, you might have assumed that you need to sacrifice one for the other. But if you want to cultivate the paradox mindset, you might spend a bit more time considering the ways that you can pursue them both simultaneously. Rather than seeing the potential conflicts as something to avoid, you can begin viewing the competing demands as an opportunity for growth and a source of motivation. And if there aren't any external pressures, you could create your own, asking, for instance, how you could increase the efficiency and accuracy of your performance on a particular task, if only for an exercise in paradoxical thinking. So there may be no immediate solution, but the very fact of thinking about the possibility of reconciling those issues could still lubricate your mind for greater innovation elsewhere. Imagine boosting your innovation and success while also having more fun at work. There's a paradox that's certainly worth considering. Richard Feynman said this: I would rather have questions that can't be answered than answers that can't be questioned. And psychologist Albert Rothenberg coined the term Januism thinking to describe this paradox mindset. Named for Janus, the Roman god of transitions, duality, time, beginnings and endings, gates and doorways, Januism thinking is the practice of actively conceiving and using multiple opposite thoughts or constructions simultaneously to solve problems. When we come up against a challenge, an obstacle, or a problem, our instinct is to push against it. Januism thinking suggests that rather than finding the one solution, we open ourselves to multiple possibilities or ways of thinking. It calls for us to shift from our limited perspective of the world to take in ideas, perspectives, and possibilities that we would have never considered before. You may ask, is that not the same thing as brainstorming? Well, they may seem alike, but brainstorming is primarily used for idea generation and creative problem solving, whereas paradoxical thinking is focused on challenging existing beliefs, attitudes, or behaviors by introducing counterintuitive statements. Both techniques can be valuable in different contexts, but serve different purposes. But why not try both methods to increase your productivity? And who doesn't like options? Robert Ringer said this: question everything, even if it represents generations of conventional wisdom. So in conclusion, we must embrace the inevitable paradoxes of life if we're truly to create a world that works for everyone. By opening ourselves up to alternative solutions, perspectives, beliefs, and ideas, we are not just finding our way into a world where win-win is enough, but rather we are able to strive for and find the win-win-win. It's when we open to multiple opposite and contradictory ideas being true at the same time that we find the possibilities and solutions that we never imagined possible. We must embrace genuism thinking to begin to solve the problems of our world and find a way to create a world that works for all, not just a small group. And I'll leave you with this quote from Carl Jung. The paradox is one of the most valued spiritual possessions. Only the paradox comes anywhere near to comprehending the fullness of life. And that brings us to our affirmation for the week. I embrace a paradox mindset in everything I do. And so now it's our time for mindful giving and financial support of our spiritual home. And we rely on your support to continue our center here in Puerto Vallarta so that we can continue offering this powerful teaching of the science of mind. And we bless the financial gifts that you give today. Every donation is greatly appreciated, whether it's $5 or $50, or even just the cost of a cup of coffee. Your contributions are circulated with our tithing to our greater organization, which reaches out globally as well as locally. And we also tithe to a local women's shelter to assist women and children that have left an abusive home and allows them the opportunity to become grateful for the assistance to become productive and successful members of their community. Donations can be made using PayPal or Tithely through our website, www.cslpv.org. Once you arrive on the landing page, you'll see donate buttons. You'll also find them at the top of the screen under our replay of each weekly talk. Alternatively, if you still like to write out paper checks, excuse me, you can do so by addressing it to CSLPV, number 403, 2125 Birch Road, Kelowna, BC. B1Y8N1. And now, if you would like to join me in our offertory affirmation. I know that my giving blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, and all that I give and receive. I do give eternal thanks for the abundance that is mine to share. So thank you for coming and sharing this time together. And let's continue with practicing peace. We can each be a force for peace and nonviolence. Our words and our actions create ripples of peace all around us and beyond. Peaceful living includes acting with compassion, kindness, and consideration. And it also includes standing up against injustice. May peace and love be with you. Blessings to all. Namaste.